And there's intimacy on the radio, and there's naturalness on the radio that can never be replicated on TV. The marvelous resurgence of radio as a political force in this country.
News-related radio programming is evolving.
There's a huge hole in our dialogue that can be filled by the synthesis of traditional radio and the freedom that comes from a live podcast. You're about to experience Cowboy State Politics live. Here we go. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to another tremendous installment from very, very high above all the puerile and insipid and perfidious forms of Wyoming mainstream media. This is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the depths of the Middle Swamp in Wyoming's capital of Cheyenne. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. Happy Friday, and you know, the most important part about today is I'm getting the heck out of the swamp. That's probably the top story of today's program, is me going home. Well, welcome to the show, my friends. It's Friday, and, well, oh, yeah, by the way, it's Open Line Friday. That's right, my friends. It's Open Line Friday on Cowboy State Politics. This is the day where we talk about whatever you want to talk about. You see, most of the rest of the time, you kind of have to talk about what's on my mind. I mean, after all, that's why you listen to this show, is to hear what I think about all this stuff. But not on Friday. Fridays, we talk about whatever's on your mind. And so if you want to be part of the show, the phone number is 307-374-8989. 307-374-8989. That'll get you right into the Cowboy State Politics, soon to be non-existent mobile studio because it's going to Sheridan. But anyway, if you want to be part of the show, go ahead and give me a call. 307-374-8989. Well, as you can see, I'm joined in the studio by Joseph Kibler. Joseph is running for he's running for governor in 2026. And I figured, why the heck not have him in one more chance to come on the program and just kind of talk about what's been happening. So, good morning.
Oh man, good morning, David. Good to see you. So you're that sick of me already, huh?
No, not
okay,
really.
Okay.
But I mean, I was just going to do kind of a run-of-the-mill show and just run through the news articles. But since you wanted to sit in,
let's chat. I mean, we can talk about what you've got coming out, David. We could talk about some exciting news, some big news coming out of our campaign at some point.
Okay,
but
maybe a little bit later.
So
it is my show. Back off. I'm the one that's in charge
let me
here.
Go back
you
to
go
you.
Do your show.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
All right. Anyway, my friends, there's a lot going on, and today I think probably is going to be the last day of the 2026 legislative session, and it couldn't come soon enough. There has been so much bullcrap that's been going on the last 4 weeks that I'm sure all of you are sick to death of it. I know that I am. And it's just been, I think the best way to sum it up is what Kylie Wall said on the program when we did her interview. And it was that this is high school. And this is coming from a high schooler, okay? So a 17-year-old kid, and she says, you know what? I have paid attention to this, and it's high school. So, Joseph, what do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. In fact, I think it really exposes really how broken bureaucracy is. When you watch the process here and you see the tit for the tat, and you see the grandstanding and the political point making as being kind of more important than principled policy making, or maybe even coming up with solutions for things instead of coming up with more talking points and principles. And so, yeah, I agree with you. I kind of look at it and I'm like, man, and David, I don't know where you stand on this one, but the whole thing, obviously, with the checks and the House floor and all of that,
stuff.
and that was going to come up today. We all knew bad optics was all it was.
Yeah,
nothing, no wrongdoing.
Nope.
But there are rules being put in place for all of these things.
Yeah, but there wasn't when it happened.
Oh no, there wasn't. There wasn't at all. But then I look at the other side going, okay, now there's potentially, going to be some consequences for Provenza, and
I would hope so.
And on the other side too. And at what point, I mean, do you think at any point, David, should we turn the other cheek? Should we just say, you know what? We'll let it happen once.
Okay.
And then we become the bigger person in the room and go, you know what? This will happen once. Happens again, there'll be consequences. And we just move on.
No.
Okay.
No. So the first thing I think I would say is that conservatives, by our nature, are too nice. The reason why
I'm guilty, probably.
The reason why we get beat by the Democrats so often is they are ruthless. This is going to sound contradictory, but one of the big things that separates conservatives from everybody else, from the Democrats, from the Democrats in name only. Sorry, Gabriel Green. I didn't mean to give you a plug on my show. Don't worry, your time is coming, my friend. Anyway, what separates conservatives from the liberal redcoats, the actual redcoats, the people that masquerade as Republicans in order to get elected, the big difference is that we actually have principles. Mm-hmm. Now okay, let me explain that because they have principles too, and it's to have no principles. And so what you saw in the whole check thing is a completely contrived political scandal. Mm-hmm. And we played into it. And so, and I don't want to spend half the program on this.
Yeah,
but
we shouldn't.
But what happened is Provenza saw an opening. And they sent up a test balloon that following Wednesday. That was Mike Yin on the floor just to see what happened. And instead of gaveling him down and saying, hey, Yin, my office now, the speaker let it go on. Mm-hmm. And then when the motion came, which he knew nothing about, or so he said in his interview, I mean, I believe him. I mean, Chip's an honest guy. But then he let that continue. And what I heard on the floor the other night when those committee findings, whatever results, their opinion is what it was, when that came out, the talk on the floor was, okay, this is bad, we've got to move on. But we can't. And if you want to make any headway in the way politics works in Wyoming, in moving conservative principles forward, we can't be nice. There's a stack of paper in the speaker's office, complaints from all across the state, like Wyoming citizens sick to death of what happened. And, thank God we were here to report the facts. Mm-hmm. Had we not been here, it would have been the media narrative all the way through, and nobody would have known that it was Provenza and Yin and Liz Storr and Matt Obrecht that set this whole thing up. So, So I guess the short answer is no, we don't let this go. Mm-hmm. You can't. What you tolerate is what will continue. And in this case, no, I don't think we let this go. In fact, people need to be held accountable for what they did. I mean, and there were real consequences. Like people's lives are destroyed. Oh, Darren McCann.
Yeah.
That guy, what was done to him was wrong.
Yeah.
Every time you Google his name, this is going to come up now.
Yep.
For the rest of his life.
You're not wrong. There's going to be consequences to that.
And, it's the same for the rest of them. And Rebecca, she's my business partner, but they drug her through the mud. They lied about her. They smeared her name. Just absolutely wrong. And so if you don't want that to happen again, or if you want to put up roadblocks so it's harder for that to happen again, well, then you got to hold people accountable. Mm-hmm. and the speaker's got to act on this. I love you, Chip, but no more Mr. Nice Guy. You
Yeah.
have got to act.
So you don't see a high road there that maybe makes a bigger difference for the future.
Not in this case. And here's
Yeah.
No,
I'm asking the question.
I think that you're kind of falling into the trap.
I mean, maybe I am.
You know,
Yeah.
okay, is there a high road? Yeah, that was before a whole
you
bunch
did
of them lied.
Yeah.
But now, if we are a nation of laws and not a nation of men, then we have to have accountability. You know, even I mean, you can go through that book over there that's sitting on my desk. You can't see it, but it's my Bible. You can go through there. And does God forgive? Yep.
Yeah.
But you're still responsible for the consequences.
There is still consequences. You're right. Yeah, you're 100% right.
You know, and this whole thing, man, this is going to be, it's going to be talked about for a really long time. And, you know, I mean, it's, in a way, it's kind of a good thing that it happened in a weird psychotic way.
Yeah.
Because it exposed who these people are.
It exposes a lot.
So all right, let's move on from that.
Yes, let's do that.
We've been talking about that for weeks.
Yeah.
So you watched the session. What did you think? What's your main takeaway, or a couple of them?
I think a couple of main takeaways that I had, David, from the session was who's who and what's what when it comes to the way we vote and what's important to us. You know, there were moments where I was like, I asked the question, is this the role of government?
Oh, all the time.
Why are we having, why are we half the stuff we're doing? We need to ask the question, is this the role of government? And we're not. Instead, we're just doing more and more and more of it. So for me, and I'll use this, maybe this is a stupid example, but that fake meat bill.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm like, wait, why? To me, the first thing I go is, why are we having a discussion about fake meat and whether it can be legal or not in Wyoming? How about you just let the free market decide?
Yeah.
Guess what? If we don't buy it, it won't be on the shelves.
Exactly.
And just let the free. Why are we using our time to talk about these kinds of things? And it goes down the road. I mean, you look at the number of, you know, we've had over 80 pieces of legislation related to elections in the last year.
Mm-hmm. Most of which I think are pretty important.
Yeah, and some of them are important, but do we need, you know, when you look at the actual statistics and what's going on, you know what? You need to be a resident, you need to be a citizen of America, a Wyoming resident to vote. That's really simple. Do we need 80 pieces of legislation to do that?
I think, okay, so the short answer to that, my short answer to that is we shouldn't need that many pieces of legislation. But let me give you one quick example. So Weston County. So the last election, Becky Hadlock, the clerk, hopefully she won't be a clerk for long. But anyway, she hosed the election.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
And when she was interviewed by the Newsletter Journal the next day, the day after the election, she told them a different story than what happened. I called her that afternoon, and she told me another story of what happened. Well, then she gets subpoenaed by the legislature to show up. Oh, well, I left out a piece because she submitted a false election report.
Right.
I mean, she lied. She said there were no problems with our election.
Yeah.
And I don't know how she could write that with a straight face, but she did.
Yeah, there was.
Then she gets subpoenaed by the legislature and essentially tells them, no, sorry, I have other plans, and then just doesn't show up. So a bill was written to enhance the penalties on that. And maybe, I don't know, for me, this is kind of election related. It's Title 22, adjacent. And then the Senate kills the bill. You have a clear violation of the law by a public official.
Yeah.
And the Senate kills the bill.
Well, there is very little interest in holding officials accountable across the board. I mean, we can look at that at any piece of legislation. Holding themselves accountable is a tough nut to crack when it comes to that kind of stuff.
They won't hold themselves accountable.
Yeah, they won't. So that stuff is important. I agree. I completely agree. I feel like we try to, sometimes the Westing, that has to be dealt with, but we overreact on a lot of stuff.
What about voter ID?
Absolutely. You got to have voter ID.
Okay.
Those are simple things that need to be done. But there's other things where you got to look at, statistics and data and go, really, how big is the voter fraud problem in Wyoming?
So I think the answer to that is if you never look for something,
You won't find it.
you'll never find it.
Yeah.
And I think that the argument that is always used by people like Gail Simmons and that crowd is there's no voter fraud in Wyoming. Look at all the at how few cases we've prosecuted. Okay, well, that doesn't mean that voter fraud doesn't happen. Because it means that you prosecute fewer of them. A really small number of them. And I don't know how many cases of voter fraud there are, but I think this is just my opinion. The only time that we get a say in how our government works, that we really get a say, is on election day.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the only time really where you get to decide if you want a judge retained, or if you want to elect a redcoat or a conservative, or if you think that Slithers Nethercott has really screwed up the Senate. I mean, on election day, we all get to make those decisions. And okay, so we do so collectively. But in my opinion, that ought to be as secure as possible.
As possible.
I mean, like in Laramie County, can you read barcode?
Can I read barcode?
Yeah.
No.
Can you look at a barcode and say, oh, yeah, that's what that says?
No, I don't have that gift, no.
Okay, so you go to vote here in Laramie County, and you vote on a little machine, and it spits out a receipt.
Yes.
And then you scan the receipt, and it says, here's how you voted. Okay, how do you know that what that machine recorded is how you voted? How do you know that?
That's an awful lot of faith and trust.
It is.
Yeah, probably too much.
Right. And so why is it a bridge too far then for us to have paper ballots that you fill in with a pen?
Yeah.
I mean, that seems to be pretty common sense to me.
It is. And you can even, tabulate that stuff by machines that are just tabulators, and they don't do anything else.
Yeah.
Well, of course, nowadays you might run into them being connected and some other issues. But
I don't know. Like, I'm not one of those that buys into the whole. And are they capable of connecting to the interwebs? Sure. But are they? I don't know that I've seen any evidence of that.
Yeah. The tabulators are a really great sort of middle ground, right? You have your hand ballots and all that good stuff. Tabulators very accurate statistically, maybe possibly more accurate than hand counting. People make errors. Whenever the only way, I mean, as long you get rid of all the people, then we wouldn't have any errors. But you're gonna have errors that happen no matter what you're doing,
right?
Because humans are involved. Oops.
Well, and I think again, the Weston County business, I mean, that exposed one of the weaknesses of people. I mean, now I want to be clear on this, because I don't think it was a weakness of the tabulation machine, because it just reads what it's told to read. And what happened there is Becky Hadlock didn't calibrate the machine. She didn't order the right ballots. And so when the machine read, went to read the little dots on the ballot, there was nothing there because they weren't calibrated. So in that case, that was just garbage in, garbage out, literally.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think that's another case where, okay, so we got to have some accountability for the clerk, and we got to put some measures in place to do that. Hand counts are another thing. Yeah. I'm not opposed to random hand counts.
Do that to double check. Do that especially when it's close, right? You got 5 or 6 votes difference. Run that another time. Do a hand count. Do the due diligence. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and take our break. And when we come back, we'll continue with the show. So back in a minute. Are you tired of all the meaningless political drivel floating around right now? endless commentary that really doesn't have anything backing it up? Do you long for the days of true investigative journalism coming from an authoritative source who really doesn't care how popular and apparently good-looking a politician is? Fortunately for you, that's what I do on Cowboy State Politics. New episodes are published every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and you can get them anywhere that you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, really any of them will work. But the easiest way is just to go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com. There, you can find all of the shows, as well as any of the articles I might bring up during the course of the program. Cowboy State Politics Live, the program you're listening to right now, is broadcast every Tuesday through Friday, beginning at 8 a.m. Pay attention to all of that other block-headed nonsense if you want. Just make sure that you don't miss an episode of Cowboy State Politics. And now, back to our program. Welcome back to the program. It's Cowboy State Politics Live on a Friday, the last Friday in this miserable swamp. And, you know, it is, when you walk into the Capitol building, it is the prettiest swamp that you could imagine. It's a $300 million swamp, but a swamp nonetheless. So I'm joined this morning by Joseph Kibler. Joseph's running for governor. And we're just kind of talking about some of the bigger issues that came up during the legislative session. And I guess before we go any further, Joseph, you had a big campaign announcement. So what say you?
Yeah, thank you, David. So as you know, I've been on this journey for a while, and I'm going to put a little context and make the announcement. I promise I am not going to do just a monologue for 15 minutes and then make it.
I probably wouldn't let you do that anyway.
Good. Yeah. So I have been on this journey. When I started this journey, it was with a kind of an open mind and an open heart. And as you know, David, late last fall in November, I made the decision to leave the Republican Party based on just principle and realizing that I kind of didn't fit in the echo chamber, that it just wasn't really meshing with sort of my heart towards public service and people and vision for Wyoming. And I went into this whole journey kind of understanding and knowing I didn't have a predetermined path. It's kind of what doors will open. And I've been open-minded to that and objective towards that. And I'm not going to get into all of the reasons unless you want to ask me those questions and we can get into the reasons. But ultimately, where that journey has taken me, I've decided that I am going to seek the nomination of the Constitution Party of Wyoming.
Okay.
Simple government. Simple approach. Okay. Core principle is the Constitution of the United States. And as I began to explore that opportunity, because and by the way, I've already called a flip-flopper for leaving the Republican Party, and a lot of people were offended by that. But I went, well, wait, that's what I believe on that. That's what I've been saying about that. And I was like, wow, I have found a principled party that I can still be objective about things, but that my core values remain in place. And I saw it as an opportunity to really, our campaign slogan has been be something different.
Well, that's different.
And we've decided we're going to be something truly different. And we're going to seek to grow that avenue because in a lot of ways, I talked to a lot of people in the last year. I haven't been doing nothing for a year, David. And I hear it over and over and over again, this idea that the major parties have become a real problem for the people in this country. And for a variety of reasons that probably we shouldn't get bored with on the show today. But the way the system has been created, the process has been created, and for people honestly to take my campaign seriously, I had to look at the options that God had presented, and this is the path and the door that opened for me, and I'm headed that direction.
All right, so are you a member of the Constitution Party?
I am.
Okay, so
I am.
Changed your registration already?
Yes, secretly, like 2 days ago.
Okay. Well, hey, I mean, politicians do that all the time.
I know, right? So it's really exciting for me because I think we're at a point in time where voters and people are ready for something else. They're ready
Okay.
to see something different. And that's the mode that we've chosen to go, and the place that we're going to be operating in.
All right, let me ask you a couple questions
Yeah,
about that.
do that.
You know, we've got a lot of different third parties. I'll just kind of put them all in the group and call them third parties.
Yep.
Right? There's the Green Party. There's the Constitution Party. There's probably about half. There's the Communist Party.
The Libertarian
Party.
Yeah.
I already mentioned the Communist Party. No,
Yeah.
but so do you think that? Do you think that any of those parties can be effective? I mean, you already mentioned that we have, in your opinion, that we have a problem with the two-party system.
Yeah.
So do you think that, a third party, outside party, Constitution type party, do you think that they can be competitive, in an election?
I think they can be in the right place and time. And here's why.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw the Gallup poll that came out a couple of weeks ago that said now over 45% of Americans are identifying as no longer being a part of the major parties.
Okay.
That's a pretty big chunk.
Yep.
We've got 25,000 people in this state that are unaffiliated right now. We got 200,000 people that just don't vote. And that's for a variety of reasons, right, David? There's a whole variety of reasons impact there. But those are the people who aren't involved, who need to be involved. So you got to get them to the polls. That's the big challenge. The big challenge is getting them to the booth to vote. And I think that is the biggest challenge we have, because I think the parties have forgotten that we can win elections without having to buy elections. And I think we need to start looking at that. I know you don't believe that we have to buy the seats. We've got to do this differently. If we want different results over there in the Capitol, we've got to start electing. We've got to start voting differently.
No, I think I would agree with that part of it. But let me just ask you a question. So in Wyoming, only half of the people that are eligible to vote actually are registered to vote.
Yep.
And of those people that are registered to vote, only half of those actually show up at the polls.
Yeah.
And when you have a whole legislative race and let's just use the House. Okay, so each House district, they represents about 10,000 people, or at least that's how the lines are drawn. But when you look at the poll results, rarely do you have elections that are any more than a couple of thousand votes. So out of 10, maybe you get 20% that actually show up and vote. So is it a problem with the parties, or is it a problem with voter apathy?
I think it's two-sided. I think that voter apathy perhaps has come from a couple of things. Discouragement, right? Feeling like they're not close to who they elect. They can't get a hold of them, whatever it is. I think there's a variety of things there. Voter apathy is a big part of that issue.
Huge. I think
don't
it's the number
disagree.
one issue.
But also it is, the other side of that is there something, we saw the excitement that Trump brought, right, to the national stage. Okay. You've got to create that kind of excitement around a movement or a culture or an idea that can bring those people that have become apathetic back to the polls. The other thing I think too that people do is they haven't up till now. It doesn't affect my daily life. I'm just going to go about my way. Hey, I've got nothing to gain by doing this. And honestly, I'd rather live my quiet, peaceful life with my 3 kids, my 3 homeschool kids, and work in my business, my small business, and do that. But if we don't start doing something different, we've got to figure this out. We've got to start coming up with solutions. My mortgage is up $600 a month.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? It's not just people on fixed incomes that are affected by this.
Everybody.
It's all of us. We have got to start coming up with actual solutions for these things. Stop putting Band-Aids on them. And I think the parties are just going to keep putting Band-Aids on things unless you can prove that we're going to do something different. I don't think we are, and that's part of the problem.
I think that you have a number of competing factors going on, but let me begin here. So the Republican Party doesn't define my values. Okay, I have principles, and it just so happens that those principles fall in line almost 100% with the Republican Party platform. Sure. And so I think that we make a mistake in saying that parties dictate principles. Now, it's true. We do have the Republican Party platform, and then the Democrats have their own platform too. And we do make an effort to say, hey, we should be for free markets, not government economic adventurism.
How is that working for us, though?
Okay, so but I think
in honesty.
that's a separate issue.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that you have to have a vehicle to drive a narrative, and it doesn't really matter what that narrative is. So with the check thing, the vehicle was the media.
Right.
Okay, that's how how the Democrats drove that narrative. When it comes to electoral politics, principles of small government, family values, free markets, freedom, guns, those sorts of things. So the vehicle to drive those issues is the Republican Party. And then the vehicle to drive all the Democrat issues, well, that's the Democrat Party too. But the question for you, the history of third parties in this country from the very beginning has always been one of, I'm going to characterize this as, it's the narrative, not the narrative, but the history has always been one of failure. And here's what I mean by that. Every time a third party has emerged, and let's use the Whigs and the Tories, okay? So the Whigs, they pretty much did what establishment Republicans always do, okay? They start taking care of themselves and not taking care of the people. And then a guy named Abraham Lincoln comes along with the Republican Party, and they were new, brand new. And then he won the presidency. And I'm skipping over a lot of stuff.
Sure.
But the Republican Party at one point was the third party. And I'm sure the conversation at that time was very similar to the one we're having now. But then the Republican Party replaced the Whigs. So the question then is, does the Constitution Party have the support to start that process? Where along that continuum do you think the Constitution Party is? Because obviously you've made a decision, so there has to be some merit to it.
Yeah.
So where are they in that process?
That's a great question. I think it's time and place. I think that's has a lot to do with it. I mean, we saw the excitement around the prospective idea of Elon Musk starting the America Party.
Well, some people were excited.
But we saw. But Amir, I talked to a lot of people that were excited about that, and so I think it's time and place, and I think the time is now. Objectively, there is a plan here. There is a plan because obviously I'm conservative to the core, and I agree with a lot of what's going on in, like you said, some of those principles. But how's it working out for us? It hasn't been working out for us for a variety of reasons. So what can a third party do in Wyoming right now? I tell you what we can do. We can replace the rhinos and the Democrats.
Absolutely. Redcoats got to go. The actual redcoats.
We can go after the redcoats and the Democrats. And then we can play nice with the folks in the Republican Party that are those true conservatives, those ones that are voting for life, those ones that are voting against taxpayer dollars for lobbying funds. We can ally with those folks because we agree on the principled issues. Maybe not the methods, maybe not some of the rhetoric. So I think I think it's the time and place is now to do this.
Well, and I think there's a fair argument to be made that, when Trump first ran, I mean, he was a Democrat for a while.
His whole life, right?
And then he switched to the Republican Party. And really, when he started running, I mean, he was the outsider, right? Like, they had all these other establishment Republicans and low energy Jeb Bush and Rick Santorum and all of those people. And I think that your argument of what did we get for that? I think that's well taken there. And so I do think that there's a fair argument to be made that when in the 2016 election that Trump was, to the greatest degree that we have seen, the embodiment of that, maybe populist third party, feeling in the country. So I think that there's an argument to be made there. The question is, how are you going to be effective? I mean, what is the plan to get a distant third party into the conversation and be effective?
It starts right here today. The
Okay.
the overall plan is there's a lot of candidates that are going to be coming out of the woodwork in these districts. There actually is already quite a few. There are more coming that are going to be coming and being announced that'll be looking at legislative seats across this state. One of the big parts of the strategy for us is going to be filling seats in the legislature. And by doing that, we bring our message across the state.
All right, well, let's go ahead and take another break.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we'll continue the conversation.
Yep.
2 + 2 is 4, not 5 if you want it to be fun.
Push the buttons.
But that was Rush Limbaugh, so I don't think that was necessarily a mistake. There we go. A break. Make sure that you subscribe and follow the Cowboy State Politics podcast. You can do that from the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. That way, you'll make sure that you won't miss a single episode of Cowboy State Politics. Hunting season. Right about now, you're off with all of your pals, stalking the big gigantic elk or buck mule deer that you've been thinking about all summer long. And your lovely wife is at home, probably enjoying her time without you. But soon, my friend, all of that is going to come to a screeching halt. And I want you to think about just one little thing. She's able to park her car inside the garage because all of your hunting crap is with you right now. Now, if you'd like the marital bliss to continue, I suggest you make a call to Marcos and Jesse at Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. They can build you a garage or a barn or any other type of metal structure for you to store all of your toys in so that your wife can continue parking inside the garage. And you can avoid sleeping on the couch for the next month or two. Call Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. Get them to build you a metal building before it's too late. Welcome back to the program, Cowboy State Politics Live. I'm David Iverson, documented to be almost always right 99% of the time. It's a record that I've worked really hard at, and I wish that I would have some competition from the Wyoming media, but what we've seen is they don't try because their whole mission is to lie to you. And there are so many examples of that. That's why you should just pay attention to Cowboy State Politics and the Open Range Record, and just forget about all these other dimwits in the media. I mean, they really are. They really are kind of dim. But anyway, welcome back to the program. If you want to be part of the show, the phone number is 307-374-8989. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, hopefully I can turn around and catch you on the board. But I'm joined today by Joseph Kibler. He's running for governor. Now we know he's going to run for the nomination of the Constitution Party. So congratulations on that, I guess.
Thank you.
I'm a Republican, so that's why I have to say,
I'm feeling good about it, David. So
no, I mean it's.
I'm excited.
So I think that it's an interesting idea because Wyoming does not have a history. Our history is not a Republican one. It's actually a Democrat one. If you go way back to the Constitutional Convention, most of the people there were Democrats. And we've had lots of Democrat governors. Now things have kind of shifted in the recent past to where if you want to get elected, you got to be a Republican.
Well, yeah, you put an R after your name, but most
Yeah.
of our legislature is still
Yeah,
Democrats.
there's lots of evidence to that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they're redcoats.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question for you, Joseph, and it is one of more political expediency. That in order for us to change policy, you got to have the reins of power. If you don't have that, you're just I don't know, whistling Dixie or something, but you're not creating policy. And the way that you have to do that in this state, at least right now, is the Republican Party, for better, for worse. But I understand the idea of political possibility, the political reality of where we're at. Let me give you a great example here. So abortion. Now, I believe that life begins at conception and it ends, at your death, natural or unnatural, but it begins at conception.
Absolutely.
I don't believe in any of these exceptions. I could disprove all of them.
Yes.
Some of them aren't comfortable, but I believe in that. But where we're at right now, like, if you could like not have a Supreme Court and just try to talk about policy in the State House, you would not get a bill through that didn't have exceptions on it. I don't like them, but in order to get the bill through, the political reality is you have to have those exceptions on there. Now that one caveat to that we should always work to do away with those exceptions. But the political reality being what it is, those exceptions, they're just enough people that's what they wrongly believe. And so you got to have them on there. So the question then is, I mean, surely you understand the political reality of where we are in gubernatorial politics, that you have the Republican Party, who has a huge supermajority in the state. There's the Democrat Party that is barely a major party. And then there are, several other third parties. So considering the political reality of where we're at, I mean, what's the strategy to get to the top of the ticket? How are you going to do that?
I think the first thing we have to do is fill the ticket.
Okay.
So we're going to fill the ticket. By the time the convention happens in June, when nominations will be happening, my understanding from the chairman is the convention is going to be in June. We're going to have a full ticket. There will be a full ticket of like-minded folks. And the issue of life, you brought up the issue of life. I'm with you on that. We have a real problem with the meaning of words when it comes to that.
Yeah, words mean things.
Elective abortion, non-elective abortion, health care. What do these things mean? We've got to define we've got to start doing the hard, durable work and define these things. Because we can get out of that trap that you're talking about when it comes to life if we can define these things. A miscarriage is called an abortion.
Yeah.
Right? This really messes up. Okay, and so is an ectopic pregnancy. It's called an abortion.
Well, that's what they call it.
That's what
reality is.
That's what the healthcare industry calls it, right? And so we get mixed up with, we go, well, suddenly we don't care about life, right? When that's not really the case. Those are non-elective abortions. But we're not separating the definitions so that we can win that battle, and I think we need to do a better job at that. So filling the ticket helps us get part of the way. That's dollars and cents matter.
Oh yeah.
Right, David? We know that matters. But what I've been doing quietly for the last year, maybe not so quietly, is building a coalition of people that have talents. They don't have money necessarily. We're not running around with a ton of cash, but they have talents.
Okay.
I've got a gentleman that records little intros and outros for my show that I do before yours. By the way, I designed that so I could listen to you right afterwards. I don't want to do it at the same time as you because I want to listen to you.
Get drowned out.
I get drowned out, number one. Number two, I want to listen to you. So we got people with talents. So different kinds of talents talked about in the Bible, right? You talked about that. Yep. The man with 10 talents, the man with 5 talents, things like this. So we're looking at talent over over dollars and cents.
Well, and I think...
And we can do that. You know what? We've got brochures all over this state right now because people have talents.
Well,
that's happening.
You make a good point. One of the best examples of that is one of my best friends, Representative Pendergraft. 2 cycles ago, the first time he won, the guy they ran against him, the guy was a complete dope, but anyway, which is one of the reasons he lost. But he spent $100,000 trying to win that race, and that was a time when you could maybe spend 8 or 10 grand. And that was all you needed for a House race. Mm-hmm. Well, Ken spent 12 in that race. So 100,000, 12,000. And he only won it by a few votes, but a win is a win when it comes to politics. So I think that you are right, that there's a mistaken belief that the man with the most cash wins.
But we see it played out though, right?
But yeah, I mean, the reality is if you don't have the cash, you can't compete. And in a statewide race,
unless you have the people.
And that's my point.
And I don't even want to use the word grassroots, David, because I feel like that's become a so many of these words have become, they don't mean anything anymore.
Right.
What does conservative mean? What does grassroots mean? What does it even mean anymore? I mean, that's part of what led me on this journey is, wait, this has kind of lost its meaning. What does it mean? And there's a variety of reasons for that. But
the meeting that convinced you to, and again, I think it was a mistake to get out of the Republican Party. But anyway, the meeting that convinced you was a perfect example. I mean, I'll admit this. They debated for 2 hours how to send out a survey. Yep. And all they would have had to do was, there was a couple people in the crowd, maybe you were one of them, said, I can put this survey up in 5 minutes and we can be done with this. And they still continued to go back and forth on the questions and how to do it and the process. And in the end, they had to send out a survey on email, which I don't think ended up giving them the results that they needed. I mean, it's just, but that's where we are in politics, and that building over there is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about.
Yeah, you actually gave a little insider knowledge. That meeting was actually for a whole bunch of reasons, the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I was already getting there for a whole bunch of reasons, but you're right. That meeting broke the camel's back for a variety of reasons, and that was one of them. I'm not going to do business like this. I was looking at the public in the back of that room,
and they're all going,
that entire
what are
meeting.
You doing?
But there was maybe 80 or so of us back there,
maybe
50 or 80 of us back there, and I was watching them the whole meeting. I want to see what the people think about what's going. And you just watch them, and it's just like, what is going on in this room?
Yeah, well, and I've got a lot of comments, tons of them. They're piling up on this show from what's been happening this session. What are you guys doing? And last night, yesterday, I guess kind of last night, was a good example of that. So they were debating the so-called energy dominance bill. Really, what it should be called is the I'm Bo Beitman and I would really like a Trump endorsement bill. That's what it should be called. But the whole thing was to set up this $100 million fund to supposedly jumpstart Wyoming energy. First, I think we're pretty good in that department. We're doing pretty well. And secondly, why are we giving millions of dollars to companies that are already worth far more than that? Why are we giving grants to companies that they can already do it themselves? But that was the debate. And back and forth, and the conservatives would jump up and say, this is stupid. If you want to do this, let's do loans. We're okay with loans.
Right.
We're not okay with grants.
Pay it back to the taxpayers.
And in the end, now we're going to have a whole bunch of grants that maybe will be managed by the governor, maybe by the Wyoming Business Council.
So we're just removing the Business Council funds somewhere else instead of...
I'm just guessing there. I don't know.
We're just going to move it around and do the same thing over again in a different way and hope it has a different result?
Yeah, but probably. But look at the bigger picture, right? This is the same thing that we do all the time, picking winners and losers, the government getting involved, and now we're all the way back where we started today's conversation with the free market.
Well, really back where we started the legislative session.
Yeah. And again, I tell people all the time that if you have not visited the legislature when it's in session, you need to.
Yeah.
Now, I suggest that you bring a roll of duct tape, one for your mouth and two for your head, because you're going to need it in one of those two places, and it will make you angry. The first time I brought that Christine came down, we weren't married yet, and there was a vote about taxes, and it was to create a tax on streaming services. And they started voting. All the Democrats are voting yes, and of course the conservatives were saying no, we're not doing this. And it became clear that the Democrats were going to lose that vote, and so all of a sudden they started changing their votes. And the question my wife asked me was, "Now wait a minute, is this recorded anywhere?" And I pointed to my recorder and I said, "That's the only place. You will not see how they changed their vote in any of the records." And so, like, if you and Joseph, I think you're right in a lot of ways about this, that it is business as usual over underneath that gold dome over there. And if you want a change in your government, well, then you've got to get off your dead butt and do that. And I mean, you and I just differ on the vehicle.
Sure.
Like we were talking before.
Yeah.
So anyway, there is one story that I have to cover before the end of the program. And, we did another one, a similar type story earlier on in the session, and it was the media absolutely misquoting legislators. So yesterday, County 17 published an article about the energy dominance bill, and they completely took my pal Ken Pendergraft out of context. In fact, what they only printed half of what he said. So let me just read to you what they printed. And it's so much fun being able to do the news off my own off their open range record. It's so much fun. So here's what they said. Here's what they said. Pendergraft said. I'll just read the whole quotation to you. The House floor debate of Senate File 123 exposed a rift between supporters who view the fund as vital for attracting private investment and critics, led by Representative Ken Pendergraft, who argued that distributing severance taxes as grants amounts to the state picking winners and losers. Okay, now first, I have heard Ken say that over and over, not on this specific bill, but we talk about this a lot on the program. So that one, yep, he probably said that exact words somewhere along the way. Now, here's what they printed. Quote, "The other side says you're picking winners and losers. It's welfare for the well-connected," Pendergraft told colleagues, emphasizing that once mineral taxes are collected, they belong to the people of Wyoming, not the corporations that extracted them. So that's all that they printed. Okay, so it makes it look like Ken is just advocating on one side of the issue. Well, let me play for you what he actually said, and hopefully this works, because I got to do it off my phone. Let's see here, audio file. So here's what Ken actually said, and grab your headphones real quick, so you can hear this. Here we go. Maybe.
We hope.
Nope, that didn't work because we're already connected. All right, so now I'll just read to you what he said. Here's the exact quotation. You can take those things off. Quote, "We've had a number of discussions about this idea, grants versus loans, just over the last few days, last few weeks." He said, "Essentially, I think there's two views. One, this is an investment in our future, and the return on investment is well worth it, and that all the other states are doing it, so we should do so too." Or he said, we must as well. The other side says, "Oh, you're picking winners and losers. It's welfare for the well-connected." What I see there is just a fundamental worldview difference in what the role of government is. And so,
context matters.
Whoa, right? Big, in a big way. And so what Ken was doing is saying, look, we're having a conversation about our worldview. You got people on this side saying this, people on this side saying that, and he was trying to redirect the conversation and not take a particular stand one way or another. And so if you go look at the article, it's entitled County 17 News Deceptively Edits Representative Pendergraft's Quotation, Completely Changes the Meaning.
Well, he addressed the root so well.
Yeah.
In the context of what he said.
But County 17, that wasn't what they wanted to push. But this is what the media does all the time. It's the same with the check deal, same with what they did to Representative Pendergraft. And that's the other issue that candidates like yourself have to fight is the media.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess a good question there is, do you have a media strategy? If you do, what is it? How are you going to do it?
Well, it's an interesting question, David. So for 22 years, one of the businesses that I've owned is a web development and marketing company.
Okay, that's handy.
So I know a teeny tiny bit about media. You'll probably notice that I'm out there just a little tiny bit. But I work my tail off. We do have volunteers all over the state right now that are doing things like flyers and community awareness, recognition, and stuff like that. And they're all really excited about what we talked about today in our announcement. We have a very clear path to the ballot and to victory and stuff like that. And so now it's about filling in those needs that we have. I mean, my family knows. I mean, I'm working my tail off on media right now because that's what I've got.
Right.
And so what does it cost me? Well, it costs me some time to do that. But as you know, we have great tools that can help us with some of the work. You and I use a lot of the same tools to get the work done. And
well, yeah. And,
so our media strategy right now is what we're doing right now.
Well, and it's unfortunately, and conservatives have this problem with the media too. Like, give me an example of an article that's been printed that is critical of any of the redcoats.
Well, I haven't seen one yet
because there hasn't been one.
There might be one on the Open Range Record.
Well, I forget all about that.
Yeah. That one organization that recently launched Open Range Record. I think there's a few that are more balanced in their approach to media.
Yeah, and that's thank you for bringing that up because that's what we try to do the whole session. Just give you the facts.
What if you're just objective about the facts and the truth? I mean, that's why you're right, like 99% of the time, right? It's just objective facts and truth. That's all we need to do.
That's all you got to do.
I'm going to strive for 90% on the campaign. Okay.
Hey,
I'll see if I can get. I'll see if I can get to 90.
Well, see, the reality of this is that if you just report the facts, and that's all you do, you'll be perceived as conservative or right wing. Now you're not. Like the Open Range Record, we've been fair. I mean, we've published some pieces that made me cringe, just because, hey, man, we're all about credit where credit is due, and I didn't like it, but we did it anyway,
right?
Because that's the commitment that we made. But the media is so biased towards the left that any reporting of just facts, just the truth of what it is, gets seen as conservative. So that's a big challenge.
Well, a year from now, the Open Range Record will be putting the cow pie to challenge.
Couple months, we're gonna
shoot for a couple months. All right. Yep. Well, hopefully we can help with that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it works. We have to grow our staff. And by the way, I've only got a couple of minutes left towards the end of the program. So first, I'd like to thank you for all the times you sat down and listened to me run at the mouth about all this stuff, and all the times you viewed articles on the Open Range Record. I can promise you, as far as our news platform goes, this is just the beginning. So thank you very much for everything that you've done for the Open Range Record. Thank you for watching this program. And that'll about do it. Joseph, thank you for sitting down with me this morning.
You know what? Thank you for having me. And, I just want to say thank you. It means a lot that you would take the time to let me come in here on this snowy day and hang out for a little bit.
Finally, I'm happy that it snowed.
You're going to you might have a long drive home today at some point.
Well, it's probably not going to happen today.
And also wish you the continued success on what you're doing in the media space. And you know what? We need more of you out there.
Well, I appreciate it. And, it's the thing is, if you want to make a change in your world, you got to stop sitting on your butt, and you got to go do something.
It's why our campaign slogan is "Be something different."
That's right.
We got to be something different.
For the last time, from the depths of the Middle Swamp, I'm David Iverson, and this is Cowboy State Politics. See you next week, my friends.